Hi everyone, welcome to my podcast. First of all, a big thanks for you guys for giving me your time. Now, without any delay, let's go to the topic. Today, we are going to discuss about what are all the probable impacts of Donald Trump's presidency to India and also the global economy. Perhaps I may be the last one to discuss about this, but believe me, I just waited for all the dust to settle down to come and discuss with the datasets. First of all, this time he wins with a majority in both the House and also the Senate, which means that whatever the bill or act which he wants to pass, even if all the opposition party voting disagrees to the bill, he can easily pass it because of his majority. First of all, let's see what are the things he has done so far. In the campaign, he promised tax cuts and he created a department called Government Spending Efficiency Monitoring Team with Elon Musk as a lead. He promised higher tariff on China products and he famously called India as a tariff king. In this, I should say some details. In India, whenever you import an automobile part or something from the US, you have to pay 100% tax as a import duty. In the brewery side, if you import a whiskey from the US like Jack Daniels or something, it will be 150% of tax. And also now we had a very bad relationship things going on with the Canada, which is their neighbor. He mentioned US have a liquid gold, which is crude oil. Hope you guys know US is the highest producer of crude oil in the planet. Even Saudi Arabia produces only half of the crude oil capacity compared to the US. And China is the largest importer of crude oil in the planet. And India is the fifth largest country which is importing crude oil. So, if America cuts the crude oil production by a relative margin, the crude oil prices will increase. It will be a bigger burden for China and also India. For this problem, China has a solution. They are the number one battery producing country in the world. Even a simple Google search will result the same. You may know the companies like Cattle, BYD, and all. They are the largest producers in the world, and also they have a EV vehicle in the list too. And also they control the critical raw materials which are all used in battery production. Even if America starts producing battery in a large capacity, that too in a rapid pace, by 2030 they will still remain at second position. And we all know that may not be possible because China is controlling the battery raw material mostly. So whoever started dominating the world in the form of crude oil or battery, it will be a burden for us. And also, he promised to recover the lost glory of America as a manufacturing dominated country around the world. And also, he intends to put a higher tariff on the countries which are hesitate to use dollar as a trade currency. And with all these things happening, if the Russia Ukraine war gets over and Israel Gaza war gets over, because it's been years, we don't know what are all the post war situations these countries might have. There is a lot of uncertainties around us. Now, the BRICS countries, which is dominated by Russia, China, Brazil, and India, and also United Arab Emirates, they are trying to use their own currency for the trades and also moving away from the SWIFT system. Now, let's come to our country. First of all, out of all H1B visas, 70% is dominated by Indians. And India exports software, diamonds, electronics, and refined petroleum to the US. And we mostly dependent on US on a day-to-day activities and also business activities like Apple, Microsoft, Google, Meta are the companies which are helping small scale industries and also our day-to-day activities. Even to run the government, we need these guys to support us digitally to perform the operations smoothly. In this kind of scenario, we are increasing taxes for the investor by increasing security transaction taxes and also capital gains tax and also short term capital gains tax and keep on coming with the bureaucracy of putting FIIs in a transparency mode. Now hope you guys know they are keep on selling for almost the last 30 days, 30 trading sessions, they keep on selling, not even a single day of buying. From this, we know FIIs have some details or some view about our country in a very bearish way. They might have felt India is becoming unsafe for the investors by applying lots of rules and policies and the limitations to the investor. They can't afford to take any risk and lose their money because most of the FIIs are pension funds of other countries. They badly need some return to deliver the promises. After all this selling by FIIs, we still holding our ground because the retail money, that is our money, has been completely going into the flow of mutual fund every month after month in the form of SIP. See, the mutual fund manager has no issues when you give him the money to buy because even at high valuations, if FIs are selling, if you keep on giving the money to the mutual fund manager to buy the dip, he will buy the dip, of course, because after 1 year he has to show some record na. This is the return his funds generated. If the cash is idle, if he didn't invest in a high valuations, then after 1 year he will be underperforming. Might be. Then he will lose the job. According to the recent data, mutual fund still sitting with 2 trillions of cash, finding ways to invest. Now the government is allowing mutual funds to trade in derivatives without a hedge and also picking alternative investment categories and mutual funds, lots of the block deals will be going on, the IPOs will be subscribed, these kind of things. It's all our money. See, no one has any responsibility for your money. So after sharing all these details, now let me share my view about the probability of FII selling from my perspective. Now let's assume a scenario. If America put a higher tariffs on a particular Chinese product to import, which might be a raw material for a particular US company. Okay. Then what might happen? The raw material cost of that company will get high. The margins will be suppressed. What that company will do in the next quarter, they will try to push the price of that particular end product, maybe a soap or else shampoo, whatever. Let's assume an example. The price of that shampoo comparing to the last 6 months, it will be increased maybe 5% or 10%. It is an inflation, right? Then what people will do? They will find a alternative product which is comparatively less. So this company has to reduce the production capacity of the shampoo. So they will stop the raw material buying from the China. In this place, first we have to understand how the US economy and India or China economy works differently. See, in US, government will directly put the money in the people's hand. US is a consumer oriented economy. They want their people to buy things which they produce and live a luxurious life and go for a different vacations. But in India and China, the government will never put cash in our hand. Now, the Chinese government has to protect that particular company because lots of jobs are there, right, in that particular company. If they close, the all those people will be impacted. The government will have a bad name. What they will do? They will put some stimulus or something infused into the economy. So even if the demand is not there for that particular company's product, because of the stimulus injected from the government, this company's cost of capital will be less. So even if the margin is not sufficient to survive in the future, this company will start producing more and more, make it as the make that product even more affordable. If the US is not purchasing, what are all the places to dump all the high capacity of that particular raw material? The most populated country, it's India, right? If that particular shampoo raw material comes here, if someone started a company and using that raw material, what might happen? Other FMCG players margin will be less, right? The profit will be impacted. See, when the product is too cheap, it will always find a way to come into the country. Now let's assume Asian Paints is famous for growing 15 to 20% every year. Now the growth has been slowed down. The whole FIS have been keep on selling. Our dip buyers, the SIP players like you and me, we keep on putting the cash in the mutual funds manager's hand. He is buying the dip. See, 5 years before, the crude oil price is low, the Asian Paints raw material has been low, the capacity was controlled by only few players, the margin has been high. Now, 3 to 5 players have been emerged. That brings more capacity to the particular sector. And also, if these two wars, which is Russia, Ukraine, and then Israel, Iran, which got over in the future, and these countries have no sanctions under threat, then they will produce more crude because they already spent a lot in the war, right? They have to safeguard their future. That brings more crude oil capacity into the planet, which is a raw material for a paint company. If the raw material is too low, what these guys will do? They will produce as much as possible. In that scenario, at some point, they will pass the threshold value, which is supply is more comparing to the demand. Then the margins has been impacted. It will take years to recover. The consolidation has to happen in that particular sector. Will you buy a 20-liter paint for a 2 lakh? If the answer is no, then you should not buy the dip blindly. This was a simple example in the paint sector. Now imagine and go through sector by sector. Mostly the corporate earnings in the future might get slow. We all know Donald Trump is very unpredictable. Now he has a ball in his court, which is no opposition to disagree or stop anything which he is going to do. So we have to wait and watch. In this scenario, our future returns will be less comparing to the past 10 years. And we have to keep in mind we will find a great opportunity in the crisis period. So we have to wait rather than go getting into the too early. And when the crisis happens, we should not be empty handed. We should seize the opportunity and make a killing. And very important, I don't think the bottom has been made in the market. So be careful. And that's all. Thank you for listening to my podcast. Let's get rich together.